All right, and welcome back to another episode of After the Whistle, presented by Front Porch Sports. It's just going to be me today. Got a fun-filled episode. We are so close to March, which means we're right around the corner from March Madness, under a month away now. So obviously college basketball in full swing here. Got conference title games coming up soon. Won't be discussed on this episode, but just something to keep in mind moving forward into some of the later episodes. Got a little NFL news we're going to talk about here. Carson Wentz traded to the Colts. I'll get into that. As always, I would like to thank you guys so much for listening. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Liking the videos, viewing the videos, it really means a lot to me. Obviously doing this to pursue my dream and work for Barstool Sports one day. So all of the support from you guys is appreciated, more so than you even know. Share the video if you could. That'd be awesome. Just expand the audience. But either way, I just appreciate all of you listening, giving this the view, giving me some of your time, and hopefully it's an enjoyable experience for you guys. Logan and I, on our last episode, we both went 6-1-1 with our picks. On the podcast, I'm like 22-7 in college basketball, which is amazing. Obviously, I don't do this daily. I'm coming off a 9-game winning streak. What would it have been? What's today? Today's Wednesday, so Monday that streak ended, and then last night I actually had a terrible night, but that doesn't matter because you guys didn't get those picks, so that negatively affected no one. So before I get into a full slate of college basketball, we got some games Thursday. We got some games Friday. We got games Saturday and games Sunday as well. I'm going to talk about the NFL trade that happened just to get it out of the way. Not going to spend too much time on it. Carson Wentz, former number 1 draft pick. Was he? Former top 2 draft pick. If he wasn't 1, he was 2. By the Philadelphia Eagles, traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a 3rd round and then a conditional pick that's either going to be a 1st or a 2nd round. Before we go get into him and the Colts, I'll talk about the Eagles first. I felt like for the Eagles, this had to happen. They had to move on from Wentz. They had to. Jalen Hurts is the starter there. Jalen Hurts needs to be the starter there. What he showed last season was a lot of potential. And not that Wentz also doesn't have a lot of upside, but the things we were hearing about how Wentz and Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, hadn't talked for 8 to 10 weeks during the season, you can't have that in a locker room. It's not conducive to a winning franchise and a winning team. And, you know, the Eagles, everyone forgets that they did win the Super Bowl, obviously, just a couple years ago, and Wentz had an amazing year, but he got hurt, and it was Nick Foles that ended up taking that team to the Super Bowl. So I don't know if anything has been the same since then. So we will see how that goes. For Philly, I like Hurts. I like his future there. I feel like they got. I feel like they could have gotten a little more, in all honesty, from the potential draft picks that they got. Getting a 3rd and then either a 2nd or a 1st. If that turns out to be a 1st, I think it's a much better deal. But if that turns out to be a 2nd, I think they could have gotten a little more. However, take what you can get. You had to move him. I think it was a good move for Philly. And then if you're the Colts, I think it was perfect. Obviously, their quarterback last season, Phillip Rivers, retiring, going to his wife and 9 kids, going to take some time to himself, well deserved. But if you look at Carson Wentz, he was a very good quarterback prior to the injury, and then the injury was not one that should have been long-lasting on his ability to play. I think the main issue is a confidence issue, and I think most people around the NFL and around Carson Wentz would agree with that it's not necessarily physical limitations that are having a negative effect on his game, but rather mental limitations and confidence issues. And I think one of the best ways to fix that would be to get out of where you were, to get away from the situation that had kind of this negative energy and negative vibes around it, like his time in Philadelphia these last couple of years has had. Obviously, the Colts not giving up a lot. As I said, I felt like the Eagles could have gotten more. So naturally, you would assume that means that you're comfortable with what the Colts gave up. One thing I like about Wentz is that more so in Philadelphia, the Colts have a run game. They have Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, who got hurt, but he's still a good running back when he comes back healthy. So they got a good 1-2 punch. They got a tremendous offensive line, maybe the best offensive line in football. Quentin Nelson, Notre Dame product, is an absolute stud. Offensive linemen don't get enough recognition, but he should be in the talks for one of the league's most valuable players. I'm not saying he should win the MVP, but having an offensive lineman like that can be so consistently good, and it's not just him, it's the offensive line as a whole. That would be part of the reason why their run game is so effective. But that team offensively, and they got some weapons on offense at the wide receiver position, Jack Doyle, T.Y. Hilton. So skill position wise, they're pretty loaded on offense. And then more so, what's going to take some of the pressure off of Wentz is they got a good defense. That defense this year kind of led them. Rivers wasn't really doing anything special. They were a team that was not relying on their defense, but the defense was part of what their identity is what I was looking for there. So I think that that will take a lot of pressure off of Wentz. And just overall, I shouldn't say that. I don't realistically think Wentz will be any worse than Rivers was last year. And they went 10-6, 11-5, something like that. A very good team. Fun fact, just because it was similar to that, no NFL team finished 9-7 this year. It doesn't happen very often. But anyways, I think it was a good trade for both. I think it was something the Colts had to do for their future, because they're obviously a talented team. And I felt like it was something the Eagles had to do. Just move on from him and get Hurts in there to be the full-time guy. One note I'm not going to get into because this is a unpopular opinion. Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback for the Colts, is an absolute stud. I hope he comes to New England and wins a Super Bowl there. But we're not going to talk about that too much. All right, getting into college basketball now. I was going to record this Tuesday night. I put it off, so we're recording it Wednesday night now. 2 games tonight I got my eye on. Obviously, one is between 2 ranked teams, Alabama at Arkansas. This is crazy. So, obviously, like Tuesday afternoon, I started looking, and the line wasn't out for this yet. And I had it projected Alabama -3, just a site I use for projections. It's not like an official thing or something I make up. Arkansas is actually -1. I still like Arkansas here. Obviously, you guys aren't going to bet this tonight. This is going to come out Thursday morning, and this game is Wednesday night. But just to go on the record, I like Arkansas here. And then Indiana at Rutgers. Rutgers -3.5. I'll be honest, I'm a man of integrity, a man of honesty. Rutgers is getting mollywopped right now, and I took them tonight. But thankfully, you all will not be taking them tonight because this will be out Thursday morning. Some other games that happened, we saw on, what would it have been, Sunday, Michigan at Ohio State, number 3 at number 4. As I had said on the last episode, I wasn't a true believer in Ohio State yet. I hadn't watched them enough was the main reason, but I felt as if there were some question marks around that team. And while Michigan did win the game, it was in Ohio State. Ohio State really impressed me. They showed they're a good team. They showed they can hang with the big dogs. So credit to Ohio State for hanging tough. I think everyone has talked about Gonzaga and Baylor kind of being in a league of their own. I think Michigan needs to be included in that conversation now. I get they're not undefeated like the other two, but they had one loss, and it was at Minnesota, who's not a horrible team. And look, they had one letdown game to a not terrible team. It's not like they went and lost to, like, Iowa State or something like that, some bummy team who I'll talk about in a moment. So, not good on them, but wasn't the end of the world that Ohio State lost that game or that Michigan has lost to Minnesota earlier in the year. So I think that those top three teams are pretty definitive, and Ohio State proved to me that they're right up there with them. So good for Ohio. Not a big fan of them, just their school as a whole, but that was a good win for Michigan and not a bad loss for Ohio State. Some other games we saw Illinois get killed by Michigan State last night. Illinois was the number 5 team in the country coming into this. I get it's hard to win on the road in the Big Ten, but heading into conference tournaments, nearing March Madness like we are, these losses to inferior opponents cannot be happening. So this was a bad loss for Illinois. Another game that I didn't even realize was close until it kind of happened. Kansas State beat Oklahoma last night, being Tuesday night. Kansas State, one of the worst teams in the Big 12 and in Power 5 conferences. So a little shocking there that happened. Oklahoma was a team that I had been riding pretty high on for most of the season. So disappointing to say the least to see Oklahoma lose that game. But Kansas State, just not a good team. Don't know how that happened. And then a game that, speaking of Baylor as well as Iowa State earlier, Iowa State goes into Baylor and loses by 5. I get Baylor won the game. They held on. They did what they had to. But to be down 10 at one point in that game at home to Iowa State, who is garbage, down 5 at the end of the first half, it just, I get they won the game, so it's hard to be critical, but it maybe shows that Baylor is not invincible. So we'll see about that. I'm still extremely high on Baylor. I think they're a good team. Because of this, I think you could see Baylor's next game, they really come out and try to put the pressure on, which is a good game that I'll talk about later. But that was just interesting to see that someone like that stuck around with Baylor so long. And one other game that I found interesting last night was Kansas on the road at Texas. Goes to overtime. Texas wins by 3. Line was 2.5. Shout out to Texas for covering that. As a Texas bettor, I really appreciated it. Texas is kind of slipping, and I felt like this was a game that they had to have for confidence at home. I get Kansas isn't as good as they normally are, but Kansas is still no joke. It's not like this is some schmucky team that, teams are clobbering. So a good win by Texas at home, covering the spread, doing what they had to do. Getting into some of the upcoming games now. Thursday, and again with these lines, these are all projections because obviously the line is not out yet. It is a day early. So a lot of these are just projections. West Virginia at Baylor. I'm seeing West Virginia at plus 13 right now. I like West Virginia in any spot up to plus 10.5. I think they keep it close. As I just said previously, I think Baylor could be fired up, could come out with a lot of aggression and try to blow this team out after having such a close game against Iowa State. However, I think West Virginia is a good team. They're a talented team. I expect them to come out and play very well. Next, we have Iowa at Michigan. The line projection was -7 when I wrote this on Tuesday. I'm now seeing it at -4. I don't really care what it is as long as it's under 10, up to 9.5. I like Michigan. I think Michigan is a very complete team. I don't think Iowa is. Outside of Garza, they really are not that special. So, and I think Michigan has just, they're too tough, especially at home. Their last 2 wins at Wisconsin, at Ohio State, they showed they can win on the road. And it's not like Iowa's a team they're going to overlook at all. Iowa, obviously a very tough opponent. Michigan at home, too much. So if you guys get it at -4 tomorrow, Sell your car, sell your house, sell your children, sell everything to your name, bet it on Michigan, and then once it wins, buy everything back. So Michigan, bet irresponsibly on them tomorrow. Not that I condone irresponsible gambling, but that's the move. And last game on Thursday I'm looking at, we have USC at Colorado. The Pac-12, not a conference I have been especially fond of this year. However, these are the two teams in the Pac-12 I do like. Projection is showing me Colorado -4. I'm taking USC in this spot. I might be taking USC money line here, depending on what the line ends up being. I think they're both good teams. USC just beat Oregon pretty bad a few nights ago. I was on USC in that game, thankfully. USC's a good team. Colorado, not a bad team, especially at home. You got that higher elevation in Boulder. However, I think USC is just better. They match up well against Colorado, whose strength is their big man down low. USC has a solid big man of their own. I don't see Colorado getting too much productivity out of their top offensive guy. So I think USC is in a spot here where they can pick up a nice road win. Going to Friday now, Purdue at Penn State. This line is showing me Penn State -3. Very similar to the USC game. I'm taking the road dog here, and I'm taking a money line. Penn State is a tough team. They're not bad, especially at home. I mean, they're not good either, but they're not bad. Purdue is a team I've rode on a lot this year. I like Purdue a lot. I think they're a team that is going to come into the tournament around that 6, 7, 8 seed and make a deep run, Elite 8, maybe. And I don't want to say they're a Final Four team. I think they have the talent to be a Final Four team. I don't know if they will be. But Purdue is a team that I like to make some noise. So I think this game at Penn State is a win for them. I just think when you believe in a team like I believe in Purdue, winning these games, these tough road in conference games, are a sign that they are the talented team like I believe them to be. So I like Purdue in this spot. Another Friday game, a little more interesting. Two teams probably too many people haven't paid attention to. The Richmond Spiders at the St. Louis Billikens. I'm seeing St. Louis -6 here at home. Originally, and I lied. I'm going to stick with it. I'm taking St. Louis here. St. Louis yesterday, Tuesday, I was on them on the road against VCU, and they lost, which doesn't upset me too much or turns me off from them. VCU, good basketball team, especially at home. St. Louis was in a tough spot there. I'm not going to say it was a bad pick by me because it was a close game. But I think they look to bounce back at home against Richmond, who is not a bad team. If this line, again, I'm seeing it at 6. If this got up closer to 10, for example, by the time Friday rolls around, could look to play Richmond in that situation. But at the 6 I'm seeing right now, I like St. Louis. Should be a good game. A lot of you, I'm sure, haven't watched these two teams, so I think it's worth tuning in if you're looking for a more low-key Friday evening. Richmond at St. Louis. Getting to Saturday now. Large look ahead. These Saturdays, folks, have been absolute wars. Last Saturday, bet 12 games went 7-5. I mean, you want to talk about just an absolute battle after 12 games to only be up 2. I mean, obviously we'll take it opposed to being down anything, but it just speaks to how closely contested these games can be. So another Saturday, another large ticket. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games on here. Very similar to what we had last week. And we'll get it started with Baylor at Kansas. I'm seeing Baylor -9 in this spot. I'm taking Baylor on the road. I think the West Virginia game is going to be close. So I think Baylor is going to look to play with some aggression against teams in the near future. I said that already. At Kansas. Kansas is good this year, but they're not Kansas good. I think Baylor could look to just absolutely dominate a lesser opponent, which is weird to say Kansas being the lesser opponent, but they are here. Baylor's just more talented. I think they limit Kansas's scoring. Defensively, Baylor is so good. So Baylor -9 in this spot, I like. Next, we have Illinois at Wisconsin. I'm seeing Illinois -1 in this spot. Hopefully, I'd love to see this swing towards Wisconsin being a favorite. Wisconsin at home, but the reason is I'm taking Illinois here. Obviously, if Wisconsin ends up being the favorite, Illinois being the dog, then I'll take Illinois money line. But if Illinois is a small favorite like they appear to be, I'm going to be on them as well. I just think they're too athletic for Wisconsin. Wisconsin is an older team. They're older than some NBA teams, the average age of a starting five. So not that necessarily limits, but Wisconsin, they got these slow, big white guys that just don't move as well up and down the court. Illinois is an explosive team full of just absolute athletes. So I think Illinois in this spot just runs them out of the court, out of the stadium. I like Illinois. This next one's interesting. Florida State at North Carolina. North Carolina been picking it up lately. Slow start to the start of the year, like a lot of these blue blood teams have had. Florida State, a team I have a lot of belief in. I'm not saying they will win a championship. I'm saying they could win a championship. They are talented enough to do that. So I'm seeing Florida State at -2. I'm taking them in this spot. Kind of like I said with the game above, I would love to see this line move, get North Carolina favored, get some extra juice on Florida State. Either way, I like Florida State in this spot. I like them big, to be honest. I'm not going to call it a lock, but it's a game I feel very confident in. I think they're a very good team, and I think even though it is on the road, it is in Chapel Hill, which is obviously a sacred place of college basketball. I like FSU in this spot. This next game, very interesting one because you have a ranked team against a non-ranked team. Tennessee at Auburn. Auburn looked horrible last night against Florida. I didn't know why originally. Their two leading scorers were out. So obviously that was Tuesday. This game that I'm speaking of now is Saturday. I'm under the assumption that these two top scorers will be back for this game. Assuming they are, I'm seeing Tennessee as a small favorite, and I like Auburn here. I like Auburn money line. I think that if these players come back, we could see that line move towards Auburn being a small favorite. Either way, I'm taking Auburn here, probably up to around a 3.5 point favorite, which I don't think is too unrealistic. Tennessee's bad, I'll be honest with you guys. They're not a team that has impressed me as of late. Earlier in the year, I was high on them. The SEC hadn't been great, and they were kind of running through people. But lately, the SEC is kind of coming to form a little bit. We've seen Auburn look good. Florida's looked good. Georgia, LSU, obviously Alabama. Kentucky's picked it up. So Tennessee has kind of been lacking when these other SEC teams have risen to some of the challenges that they've needed to. So I like Auburn in this spot. Hopefully they stay as an underdog and you can bet a money line. Get some extra juice on them. Next, we got two Big 12 games, two good Big 12 games. First, Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. I'm seeing Oklahoma -7. That is a high line. Oklahoma State just had a good win at home against Texas Tech the other night. I was on Texas Tech for that one. Close game, right down to the wire. I'm taking Oklahoma in this spot. I think it's a rivalry game, so these teams feel the need. Not feel the need. They don't mind running up the score. With Oklahoma being at home and being a 7-point favorite, I think coming off this Kansas State loss, Oklahoma is going to try to prove that they're still a monster, which I believe them to be. Oklahoma State is a good team, but outside of Cade Cunningham, I don't really know how effective they can be. I think this can have a negative effect on them heading into March. Oklahoma -7, I'll take it. If you can keep it under 10 or so, I like it. I think they win by double digits. I feel good about this game. The other Big 12 game is between two Texas schools, Texas at Texas Tech. Both of these teams have been struggling a little bit as of late. Two teams that I'm personally very high on, and not like that's some hot take. They're both very good teams. I'm seeing Texas Tech at -4 here. At home, I'm taking the Red Raiders. Last time these two teams played, obviously it was in Austin at UT. Texas Tech wins on a Mac McClung buzzer beater. Mac McClung, one of the most electric players in the country right now. Don't know if he's going to have an NBA career, but I can promise you, come March, he's going to do something nuts. He's must-watch TV. This, I would say, of all of my Saturday games, this is the must-watch game. Texas at Texas Tech, and I'm taking Texas Tech -4. I've been waiting for this one. No, you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for the last Saturday game. LSU at Arkansas. I'm seeing Arkansas at -2. I am all on the Razorbacks here. Obviously, what happens tonight could be a factor in the line. Alabama going to play in Arkansas. If Arkansas looks horrible, this line could move towards LSU. If Arkansas looks great, it could move the line up. I love Eric Musselman, former Nevada coach, great coach. Sad he left, miss him a lot. I like Arkansas in this spot. At home, LSU's a good team. They're another team that I think can make a run in March. Just defensively, they're not there yet, but offensively, they're one of the best in the country. So taking Arkansas here, I'm not going to say I think it's like a lock or anything like that, but I feel good about it, laying the 2. Another SEC game, Florida at Kentucky. Kentucky, -4.5. Kentucky has started to play a little better lately. They've started picking it up where they've been lacking this season compared to normal Kentucky standards. I like Florida here. I'm probably going to take Florida money line, which should be a good payout, assuming that they're as big of a dog as we're seeing. I don't know if Kentucky's back yet. I'm not ready to buy into it. Florida looked real good against Auburn on Tuesday. I get that Auburn was out their 2 best players, but Florida looked real good. The confidence is going to be high. Kentucky, they're not a feared team like they used to be, so I like Florida in this spot. A Big East game. This scares me because the line seems a little low. Creighton at Xavier. I'm seeing Creighton -4. Usually when I see a line that doesn't make sense to me, I run away from it. I don't bet it because obviously I'm an idiot. The casinos are not. They know something I don't. They want me to bet Creighton in this line because Creighton should be like -10 in this spot, not -4. However, as I said, I am an idiot. I'm going to bet Creighton. Hopefully, come Saturday, this line makes a little more sense. But I'm going to be on Creighton in this spot pretty big, to be honest with you. It doesn't make sense why they're only a 4-point favorite. Creighton's really good, and Xavier's not. I get it's on the road, but Xavier's just not a good team. And Creighton, I think, is a Sweet 16, Elite 8, maybe even a Final Four team. So I like Creighton maybe too much in this spot is what I'm saying. And our second to last game on Saturday, VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, at Davidson. I'm seeing Davidson -2. Again, this is a line that doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like VCU should be favored here, so I'm all over VCU. A very similar situation to the last game where the line doesn't feel right. You can smell shit before you step in it. And hopefully that means you don't step in it, but I'm going to step right in the shit and take VCU here. They're a good team. They impressed me with that win over St. Louis on Tuesday. So give me the Rams over the Bobcats. And I saved this one for last because I'm just so excited. They're back. Louisville at Duke. Duke is back, folks. 5-0 this season without Jalen Johnson. That scumbag rat just had a great win against Virginia the other night. I know Virginia isn't a top 5 team. Virginia is still a good team. Duke beat them. I'm seeing Duke -8. This line could be -1,000, and I'm taking Duke. I'm going to be betting Duke every game the rest of the season. They're going to make the tournament. I don't think they're going to win a national title, but they can make a Sweet 16 run, and I wouldn't be shocked, and you shouldn't be either. Whatever odds you can see Duke in the ACC tournament to go on and win it, I would take it. Duke is the team I do not want to play right now, especially that ACC tournament is going to be wide open. I think Florida State is the best team in the ACC. However, there's going to be some tough games for them. Obviously, there would be for Duke, but I'm going to ride this Duke train into the ground. I've been back on Duke. I've given up on Duke. I am fully back on, hopefully not giving up again. So, all over Duke in this situation. -8. And the last game we'll hit on, Sunday, Iowa at Ohio State. Right now, obviously this game's like 4 or 5 days away. I'm seeing Ohio State -2. This can change a lot with the Iowa-Michigan game and all that stuff. But I like Ohio State in this spot. I think it's a very similar situation to the Iowa-Michigan game, where I just think Ohio State's too talented at home. I just think they're too much, basically. I think Iowa is just like a step below Ohio State and about 2 steps below Michigan. So 2 points doesn't bother me. I'd bet this up to probably like 5.5, 6.5. So we'll see where that goes. We're just going to run through the slate real quick. West Virginia at Baylor. I like West Virginia. I'm seeing -13. Iowa at Michigan. I like Michigan. I'm seeing -4. USC at Colorado. I like USC. I'm seeing them at +4. Purdue at Penn State. I like Purdue money line. I also like USC money line. Obviously, they're a dog. Richmond at St. Louis. I like St. Louis -6. And then on Saturday, Baylor at Kansas. I'm seeing Baylor at -9. I like them. Illinois at Wisconsin. I like Illinois -1 is what I'm seeing. FSU at North Carolina. I'm seeing the Seminoles -2, and I'm riding that. Tennessee at Auburn. I'm seeing Auburn as a 2-point dog, and I'm betting them. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. I'm on the Sooners at -7. My must-watch game of the weekend, Texas at Texas Tech. I'm on Mac McClung and the Red Raiders at -4. Louisville at Duke. I'm betting my entire life savings on Duke -8. LSU at Arkansas. I'm on Musselman and the Razorbacks at -2. Florida at Kentucky. I'm betting the Gators money line. They're about a 4.5-point dog. VCU at Davidson. I am on Commonwealth. Again, money line. They're a 2-point dog. Creighton at Xavier. This line makes no sense, but I'm on Creighton -4. And Sunday, Iowa at Ohio State. I'm on the Buckeyes -2. That is it for this episode. Next week, next Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to have our MLB preview episode. Just kind of wanted to get it not out of the way, because that makes it sound like I'm not excited for it, which I really am. I'm pumped for baseball season. But March is going to be super busy with March Madness, obviously, and conference title games, just college basketball in general. And the baseball season starts April 1st. So to get this episode in before that gets going, I think is important. So I'm excited for that. We have 2 great guests for that from Hillside Productions, live from their sports book. So that'll be a super good time. Just some good college basketball games this weekend. Hopefully we get back on track and make some money. Thank you for watching. Love you all.